Chris, are you done blow drying your hair? Okay, thank you. Everything okay? What am I doing? What does it look like I'm doing, Kristen? I'm sitting here with headphones on in front of a microphone with a switchboard in front of me. Yeah, no, make no mistake, Kristen's hair is pinned straight naturally, okay? She doesn't need to blow dry her hair at 7:45 in the morning. She's doing it to be spiteful because she knows I'm podcasting and because I prematurely invited her to be a guest and I've yet to schedule her episode, and I think she's bitter and she's angry. So she's now trying to interfere with my ability to podcast and sabotage me every chance she gets. I told you I'll have you on eventually. I'm not ready for guests. You and Lisa, the both of you calling me, hounding me. Don't call us. We'll call you, okay? I don't know if the audience wants to hear about Cab Franc forward. All right? Where are you going? Are you off today? I know it's Valentine's Day. Oh, by the way, happy Valentine's Day. I left the card at Tuto. I wrote you a beautiful card. You're allowed on the podcast. You'll be on eventually, I promise. How about this? You'll be my first guest. You don't want to be a guest anymore? Maybe once you get rid of that belly button ring. I don't know. I don't know if I can be associated with anyone who has a belly button ring. My God, what a night. I'm still in shock. I feel sick to my stomach about Ilia Malinin and his devastating, stunning loss at the Olympics yesterday. You know, I went against my own rule. If you remember, in the last episode, I said I never watch the figure skating live because it's just too anxiety producing. And then I was at work and I'm like, oh my God, the men's, free skate is about to start. Let me just watch it. I really thought I was watching it to witness Olympic history, and I thought that he was going to win. He was going to win. He was a shoo-in. It was his to lose, and he had all eyes on him and so much pressure and so much expectation, and he buckled under the pressure. He really did, and it's understandable. I don't know how. I really marvel at these young athletes that dedicate so much time and effort to train for this one single moment, this one Olympic performance at a sport that is so unforgiving. It's like you need to be flawless and you need to be perfect. And watching it live was heartbreaking. There's no other term for it, but it was also like a slow unravel. And you could just sense that the first jumping pass, I think the quad Lutz, he landed smoothly. But then when he popped out of that second element, and I'm using, proper figure skating terminology here. And if you are unfamiliar with it or you don't care, then you can go ahead and skip to another podcast because that's what we do here. Okay. We celebrate the sport of figure skating and we discuss it as if we are Scott Hamilton, Tara Lipinski, and Johnny Weir in the box commenting on it in real time at the Olympics. So when he popped out of that first element and he singled it, which essentially means he was meant to do a quadruple jump, and he, I guess, just lost his focus or something happened and he singled it. So he did one rotation and landed. And that was the first of several catastrophic errors, but nothing was worse than seeing him hit the ground. When he fell, not once, but twice, and then he doubled another element, you just knew it was like watching a train wreck. And I don't know. I just can't imagine the amount of pressure he felt, right, to perform for the world and, to level up to his own expectations. And then as soon as you have the slightest little error, it must totally destroy your mental focus and your confidence. And that, I think, then just causes one mistake after the other, which is what we witnessed. I don't know how you can recover from that. And it was heartbreaking at the end when he cried and the fact that he didn't even medal. I never imagined an Olympics without Ilia on the podium. Like the fact that he was 8th after coming into the short program in first place, the one to beat, the quad god set to make Olympic history. And he did make Olympic history. No, I shouldn't say that. We've seen this before. This is a tale as old as time, guys. I mean, if you watch the Olympics and you follow these athletes closely, these specific athletes, there are a handful of athletes every Olympic cycle who really captivate the world's attention. And they're in all the endorsement deals and they're the focus of every Every profile, every story, everyone is rooting for them. You could see that arena. It's been empty all week and it was standing room only. People came out in droves to see Ilia skate live. It's no different than what we witnessed with Simone Biles, right? I mean, she had obviously a different kind of pressure. She had won the Olympics and she was the world champion. She proved everyone she could do it. And then 4 years later, she returned. And I'll never forget where I was when I saw her basically quit. You know, she couldn't do that vault. She got the twisties and she had to evaluate in the moment and say, okay, I can't move forward. I can't do this because the pressure had gotten to her and she got in her head. And ask any Olympic athlete, they'll tell you it's just as much mental as it is physical. I mean, these athletes have the physical ability. They have the skills, they have the training, they have the practice. But when you step out onto that stage, it's the mental pressure that really impacts you, you know? And we witnessed the same exact thing from Nathan Chen in 2018, Pyeongchang. You know, he was coming in the favorite, the one to beat. And, you know, do you remember, like Kyle Richards said, I've been saying that all week, do you remember what happened in Pyeongchang with Nathan Chen? Just like Ilia, he crashed and burned, and it was a shocking upset, a shocking defeat. But he came back 4 years later in Beijing, and he won the gold. So maybe that's just what Ilia needs. He needs 4 more years of training. He needs to take this experience on Olympic ice, having gone through it, process it, understand what that's going to feel like, and take those experiences into the next 4 years of practice, and then come back stronger than ever. But again, Milano Cortina is looking a lot like Pyeongchang, all right? And yes, I'm going to keep saying Pyeongchang for the remainder of this episode because I like to say that word and I like the fact that I can pronounce it. So that was really all I could think about yesterday. And now here we are on Valentine's Day, another year, single, nobody to love, no one to make breakfast for, or no one to make breakfast for me. Oh boy. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. I mean, speaking of breakfast and sad state of affairs, I bought a box of organic, healthy Raisin Bran yesterday, and that is going to be my cheat meal tomorrow. Now, that is a tragic circumstance that if Raisin Bran cereal is now my cheat meal, but I really am being strict about my diet, my calorie deficit. I'm trying to eat just a few small meals, protein rich, carbohydrate light, and I have been craving cereal in the worst way. So I finally said, okay, I'm going to buy myself a box of this cereal as a treat and I'll eat it next week. Not the entire box in one sitting, but I could. That's the problem with me is that I have such an appetite and I eat such large volume that I was not able to lose weight. So that's an update on my weight loss journey. In other news regarding my appearance, I did get a ring light. I have not yet set it up. That's going to be a project for later today. But after I saw last week's video and I had some nerve letting some natural light in just on one side of my face while the other was cloaked in shadow. That is not the most flattering thing to do when you're my age. And that was a really rude awakening to see myself looking like that. So hopefully the ring light and proper conditions and angles will solve that problem. But yeah, I let's just say I did not have getting an upper blef on my bingo card for 2026, but we are rapidly approaching that email that I send to Dr. Stephen Greenberg in Southampton and say, listen, can you do my chin and my eyelids, for the price of one? Has anyone listening had an upper blef? What does it stand for? Upper blepharoplasty. An upper blepharoplasty or an eyelid lift is a common outpatient procedure that removes excess sagging skin and fat from the upper eyelids. Yep, I need an upper blef. And I know, people come out looking like Barry Manilow. That's what they said about Bradley Cooper. But right now, I think that beats looking like, what was her name? Norman Bates' mother? Kristen? Never mind. But yeah, I have that email drafted to Dr. Greenberg. I haven't sent it yet, but essentially it's, hey, Dr. Greenberg, what's that noise? I feel like every time I do that, I feel like Wendy William in that clip where she's like, what was that? Do you remember? Mom is texting me at 9:22. Happy Valentine's Day. Oh, love you, Mom. If you're listening, I'll call you later. My mom wrote her second book, by the way. She published her second children's book. First, there was Sophia and Simon the Scaredy Cat. And now she has Adelina Bombalina Pulpatina or something like that. I got to confirm the title, but it's the second book in a series about my mom's relationship with my nieces. Olivia, if you're listening, she's the middle child, and she will have a book soon, I'm sure. I'm sure it's in the pipeline. Kristen chose to wear her loudest shoes this morning as well. She's wearing 8-inch spiked high heels, and she's marching around the apartment just to make more noise. You don't like the outfit? Yeah, me neither. Just kidding. You always look great. How was last night? Oh, yeah, there was a speed dating event I heard at Sagtown. I'm sure we'll hear about that on the news eventually. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, so I have that email drafted to Dr. Greenberg, and essentially I'm waiting until I have 10,000 followers to send it because I'm hoping that I can barter with him for some procedures. But I gotta I also want to see if I continue to lose some weight. I hopefully will need less cc's of Kybella injected into my chin. But he also advised against the Kybella. I think he recommended just going forward with the liposuction, small incision, and just sucking that fat out. So I would do that, and I would look into the upper bleph, but like a half order of an upper bleph, because I don't want to look like that much younger. I just want the excess skin removed. Now, let's see. I do have a running list of things to talk about. Well, while we're on the subject of, what I look like and using my social media following to get free stuff, let's talk about what I'm witnessing on social media right now, especially this week because it's New York Fashion Week, which I think really brings out the worst of influencers among us. I remember when New York Fashion Week was really like an exclusive invitation and experience, and it was really meant for very, very, very A-list celebrities and people in the fashion world, okay? Designers, buyers at the major retailers, editors from magazines, really like the titans of the fashion industry. Now it seems that anyone and everyone can get invited to a Fashion Week show. And people feel that they have to like really, really go above and beyond with these looks, as they call them. And I feel like it's just too much. It's very over the top and performative, and they'll admit these people are going simply so they can photograph themselves there. They don't care about the fashion. They don't even understand what they're watching or how it affects, the fashion industry. They're just going to see and be seen. And I don't know, there's something just kind of like lame about it. I remember when I was an intern at Extra in college, and I got to go to the Monique Lhuillier fashion show, and I got to go behind the scenes and see how it all works. And it's a very, very impressive, big operation. But that was 20 something years ago. And the landscape of fashion shows has changed. That was when it was I can't remember if it was Bryant Park or if it was Lincoln Center. I think it was Bryant Park still. I could Google. It was it would have been in 2008. Oh, now Kristen's coming out with rolling luggage to go to work. You have Fashion Week stories? You started in Fashion Week? No way. First job out of college. What, did you work for a production company? Oh, a PR company. Which company? Not People's Revolution, right? Not Kelly Cutrone. Yeah. Well, Kelly Cutrone was a production company and a PR company. Oh my God, what a legend. So what can you share with me very briefly? Like her first show was Nina Scara at the Tents or at Lincoln Center? Lincoln Center. So this was, 2012. Yeah. I only went to one, and it was 2008. So I think it was at Bryant Park. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like all these young women specifically, they get all gussied up and they put on these outfits that look like costumes. Like, who's wearing like long leather gloves with rings over them and, stacks and stacks of bangles and feathered hats, and it's just too much. Like, I don't know, guys. I work for a fashion icon, and I know some pretty chic, fashionable people, and the people I know that have real style are very, very understated, elegant, and unassuming. They're not running around New York City looking like they're in a pageant. And so I would really encourage some of you to just take a long, hard look in the mirror and scale back what you're doing. Okay. And also, if you're going to promote smoking cigarettes, which seems to be a trend now, people think that smoking cigarettes is cool. It's not. Listen, I used to smoke. Okay. I will on occasion still smoke a cigarette in Europe, but I don't feel good about it. I hate it. I think it's disgusting, but I genuinely enjoy the sensation. I feel like some of these people I'm seeing are smoking just for the optics because they actually think that it makes them look cool and rebellious. And I don't know. It's really kind of lame, like you're purposely going out of your way to include a cigarette, either a box of cigarettes or a cigarette hanging out of your mouth in multiple photos. And not only that, but I'm also noticing that some of you in these videos are not actually inhaling, okay? Which is really, really lame, because if you're going to try to promote smoking and act like it's cool, then at least fucking inhale, okay? Because I could tell based on how the exhale smoke comes out of your mouth whether you inhaled, okay? If you take a big drag, a big pull, and a plume of smoke, a big cloud of smoke just comes puffing out of your mouth instantly, you did not inhale that cigarette, okay? You must first breathe in and then exhale a nice, steady, thin stream of smoke, either through the mouth or, if you're a real badass, the nostrils, like you're a fucking fire-breathing dragon. Once I start seeing that, then maybe you'll get some street cred, okay? But until then, just quit it. You know what's funny about smoking, and this is a beautiful, beautiful transition. One of the last cigarettes I smoked was a good one. You know why? Because it was with Dorit Kemsley. Yep, that's right, folks. You bet your ass we're going to talk about my guest appearance on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 9. I'm sure most of you saw it. If you didn't, put it on, fast forward to about halfway through the episode, and you'll see when the ladies, Rachel, Kyle, and Dorit arrive in the Hamptons, what was their first stop? None other than Tutto Il Giorno restaurant in Sag Harbor, where I'm the maitre d'. And this was arranged in advance through a friend of mine and a very, very loyal patron of ours, Suzanne Covert. So Susan and Rachel are very, very good longtime friends. Rachel is an acquaintance of mine. I've known her for many years through the restaurant. And so when they decided they were coming out here for the weekend, they were scouting restaurants for the ladies to have dinner at and film. And I'm so flattered that they thought of Tutto. So we made this happen. And it was so exciting. It was a very, very busy night. It was a Friday night in August. Anyone who knows the area knows what that's like out here. But they showed up. They looked fabulous. And I looked terrible. And now that's immortalized on film, as is my hideous tattoo. And they had a wonderful 3-hour dinner. And you know what's funny? It was really interesting to see how the show works from behind the scenes, right? There were a number of producers there, and they set up minimal equipment, but it was visually a little distracting, let's say, because they did set up some lights over the table. They were sitting outside on the back patio, and you could tell that there was like a production crew. They had maybe 3 cameras on the ladies at all times, right? And then in the parking lot, they set up what we in the biz call Video Village, where they have monitors and they have producers kind of observing what's happening. But they did not interfere with their dinner whatsoever, the producers. Not once did they come over to the table and tell them what to talk about. They just observed the women like flies on the wall for 3 hours. And I saw the women talk and gesticulate. I think that's the word. They were making gestures and couldn't hear what they were talking about now. Having watched the episode, I know. But
Yeah, they really do film a lot, and then they only air like a very, very small portion of it. Now, at one point, I went over to Video Village and I was looking to see, what the shots look like to make sure the restaurant looked good. And much to my chagrin, I noticed one of the patio chairs was missing a blanket, and I had a fucking heart attack because I'm like, oh my God, the space does not look perfect. So I hurriedly ran over to the patio and I put a blanket on the chair. So if you watch the episode, you'll notice a continuity error where at one point the chair behind Dorit is missing a blanket, and then like magic in the next shot, the blanket appears. That was me. You may also have noticed me counting the Housewives. This is a visual that has since gone viral on Reddit. Yep, there are tons and tons of comments and messages, people noticing this moment and thinking that it was Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. No, it was not. It was me. I get that comparison a lot. What I was counting, I don't know. If I had to guess, I was either making sure that everyone had received their entrees, so I was counting the number of dishes on the table, or maybe did I give them a limoncello shot? Was I counting how many people? Either way, I should not have been so obvious about counting. I think the lesson I learned and the takeaway for me is that you can silently count just with your eyes. You don't need to actually point at the table like you're, doing Duck Duck Goose while you're being filmed for a major reality show. But it was fun to see that Reddit thread. I hope it continues to go viral, and I hope that it increases my following on Instagram, because that's really all I care about these days is more followers, more followers, more followers. And you know what? This episode of Beverly Hills Housewives did not help. I can tell you I lost about 12 followers since it aired, and I hope there's no correlation between that, but maybe there is. Okay, so going back to my rant about these influencers and Fashion Week, I just think it's obnoxious, to be honest. You know what else is over the top and obnoxious? Lori and Marcy Hirschleifer. And I hate to be, like catty, but again, I'm talking about people who think that they are fashionistas. And it's like, just because you buy expensive clothes and you deck yourself out in 15 different designers, that does not make you a fashionable, stylish person. It actually, I would argue, makes me question whether or not you have any taste whatsoever, because you're shopping specifically and you're wearing only because something is designer or trendy. And don't get me wrong, I love designer clothes because I appreciate well-made craftsmanship and I appreciate good quality. Kristen, she's leaving. Get out of my life. But listen, I follow Lori and Marcy, and I'm sure they're lovely women, but it's excessive. And I just can't imagine anyone wanting to show off all of their expensive watches like that, especially the world we live in, I mean, you got 84-year-old women being abducted, held for ransom. You got burglaries left and right. You got smash and grabs happening, and you're out there boasting about your $500,000 watch collection. I just don't think it's smart, and I don't think it's tasteful either. But I do want to go to Hirschleifer's just to see, because I'm fascinated by it. It's like an exclusive department store. It's like Barney's, but where is it in Long Island? It's in yes, you do. It's in not Massapequa, I know that, but it does start with an M. Oh, Manhasset. It's at the Manhasset Mall, Americana Manhasset. I would like to go, like I said though, because I'm sure they have some great menswear pieces. They don't really focus on their menswear at all. But I do know they carry some of my favorite brands, which are not as commonly found. Brands like Studio Nicholson or Acne or APC. So I'm sure I could do some major damage there. Now, going back to these influencers at New York Fashion Week, I can't believe I'm going to say this. You know what I miss? I miss the Shampoo Mafia. I miss when my Instagram feed was filled with beautiful people promoting toxic shampoo and hair care. And I'm not going to specifically say the name of the company, but let's just say it shares its name with a very famous impressionist painter whose first name is Claude, who is currently laid to rest in Giverny, France, amongst the water lilies. So those are some context clues for you. But if you know what I'm talking about. The Shampoo Mafia, baby, the MLM pyramid scheme heard round the world. There was a time when I could not go 60 seconds on Instagram without seeing someone trying to sell me shampoo, conditioner, styling product, hair oil, hair mask, this, that, and the other, all while promising me that I too could become a salesperson and a representative for said brand. And not only would I make tons of money, I would probably win a Cadillac. I would probably get invited to some retreat, most likely at Epcot Center. I would get to travel the world and become a part of this incredible community of quote unquote business owners. And my life would change overnight. Okay. Yes. I was recruited on multiple occasions to join the Shampoo Mafia, and I declined. I thought about it very briefly because I thought, you know what? I could make a lot of money doing this, and I'm a good salesperson. And hey, if you can't beat them, join them. What do I have to lose? Well, aside from my fucking dignity and my reputation, I thought I could possibly lose my hair because I didn't trust these products. And, I said I would not feel comfortable promoting and selling a product that I don't use myself and that I don't believe in. And that's why I decided not to become part of this MLM community. And I'm glad I made that decision because clearly that whole industry has collapsed. Or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it still exists. I don't know. Maybe my algorithm has just filtered out all of the pyramid schemes. But if it has, I need to find a way to get it back because frankly, I miss it. And I prefer that kind of content to what I'm seeing from some of these influencers today. I don't get it. I don't get how there are like Peloton instructors that have larger followings than me. Like, no disrespect to the Peloton instructors, but like I've been working my tushy off for 30 plus years as an entertainer. And granted, I only started posting regularly on Instagram about 7 months ago. And I've grown a little bit, but not enough. Not fast enough, not large enough. I need more because it really is a vehicle for me to promote the film and the more long form artistic stuff that I would like to do. But I resent some of these people that have these followings. This woman I follow that all she does is make her daily water and she's adorable and I love her, but it's like every day. Let's see what my water's going to be today. We got my crushed ice. We got 2 pumps of the, cinnamon syrup and a splash of electrolytes. And she spins it around. She mixes it up and she takes a sip. And she gets 100,000 views. And I'm over here fucking crashing my car into the snow and filming in church and doing all these things to try and go viral. And I'm not being rewarded. It's not fair. Like I said, I have put in the work. Okay, I was 12 years old and 13 when I first started professionally working in theater, Scarsdale Summer Music Theater, okay? 7th and 8th grade, I dedicated 2 whole summers to grueling rehearsal schedules, okay? I was performing with mostly adults and college students as a young child. I was Theo in Pippin, and then I was in the Cowboy Trio in Crazy for You. I had to learn how to tap dance. I had to learn jazz dance. I had to, learn how to work with a live duck. I had to work with a magician. I mean, I have really, really pounded the pavement, okay? And that's not including all of the theater and performances I did in grammar school. And then the films I made in college and the scripts that I've written, and then all the production work I've done since graduating on the agency side, on the event side at Tribeca and the Gotham. I mean, the list goes on. And here I am like a schmuck pouring my heart out on Instagram for 3,500 views. And it's not fair. But yet, nevertheless, she persisted. But with all that I've done wrong, I must have done something right because Dorothy Wang follows me. And you know what? I will never take that for granted. Dorothy has been someone I love and admire for many, many years since her debut on Rich Kids of Beverly Hills. And we became friendly at Tudo. She gave me some Labubus this summer. And when she started following me, it definitely felt like validation. It felt like I had made it. Now, of course, I check my followers every morning to make sure that she hasn't unfollowed me, which is sort of the blessing and the curse, I think, of when someone notable follows you. I think you're really excited and grateful, but then I think you're constantly living in fear that that person's going to unfollow you. And if that were to happen, it would be devastating. I would have to confront her. I would call her immediately and be like, wow, so what was it? What was it that made you unfollow me? So please, Dorothy, if you're listening, don't unfollow me, because you would force me to have a very, very awkward conversation with you. And I don't want to have that conversation. So just mute me. If it gets that bad, just please mute me. But if you unfollow me, I'm going to know. All right. Now, before we go, I did also want to briefly talk about the news that the Palm Tree Festival is returning to the Hamptons. Let's be clear. I cannot think of a less appropriate name for a music festival in the Hamptons. Okay. I don't know who came up with this name. I don't know how they've continued to build and cultivate a brand around this, but there's not a single palm tree between here and probably South Carolina. So who decided that this festival in the Northeast corridor of the United States should be called the Palm Tree Festival? I don't understand, and it bothers me. Okay, it should be called maybe the Maple Tree Festival, maybe the Weeping Willow. I think the Weeping Willow Festival actually makes more sense, because given the state of the world right now, if I'm going to a music concert, it's to drown my sorrows, you know? And at some point, I'd like to be doubled over, crying with my arm extended in the air, waving a flame, you know, in solidarity for something. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It's too early in the morning. In casting news, let's see. Well, as we know, since my last recording, Jill Zarin is terminated from her participation in the Roni reboot. I'm so disappointed in Jill. I really am. That's all I'm going to say. I'm really mad at her for just putting her foot in her mouth. And yeah, but Dorinda, let's be clear. Dorinda was always meant to join that show. Okay, they just hadn't announced it yet. They were waiting to announce it. Probably they wanted to wait until the trader cycle had ended, all that stuff. But she's not replacing Jill. They just chose to announce it. That gives me hope that the show is going to be watchable, because Jill, love her or hate her, she's interesting television. And I do think it's unfortunate that the producers are not using this as sort of a teachable moment and an opportunity maybe for the women to have these conversations on camera and educate each other. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I can tell you how I feel about Sandra Bernhard joining the White Lotus, and that is that I'm thrilled. I think that's something Mike White does really well, is he finds these sort of household names that haven't worked in a while, and he gives them this renewed opportunity. And these are all really, really talented, skilled character actors. And I think they're also all kind of like visually interesting, you know? They're not like the Sydney Sweeneys or the Blake Lively's of the world. They look like real people. And I think that I'm excited to see what Sandra does on The White Lotus, which is filming and set in the south of France this year. Il Sud de France, as we say in French, right? I think. Or maybe that's how you say it in Italian. No. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, actually. The evil queen got fired from Disney World. That was a shocking headline that I saw this week. I don't know what that woman did to deserve that, but I'm curious to know. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole on that and report back next week. Well, I do think that this episode is sort of coming to an end. I wish you all, well, this is going to air a few days after Valentine's Day. So I will say that when you're listening to this, I hope that you all had a wonderful, romantic, sexy Valentine's Day. And I hope that you don't pronounce it Valentine's Day, because you'd be surprised. I encounter that more than I'd like to as a 39-year-old man. Grown adults saying Valentine's Day just kind of makes you question humanity, among other things. But I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and I hope that you're starting your Monday morning with a little chuckle. And yeah, that's all she wrote, folks. Stay tuned for more episodes. And don't forget, please rate, review, and subscribe. I have not seen one additional rating come through since I started this podcast. Not one review, nothing. And don't say that you don't have the time or the ability, because I know half of the people listening to this podcast are the same people that will go on Yelp and go on Google reviews and bitch about their pasta not being al dente enough. So I know that you have the capacity to leave a review for something. So do me a favor, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Thank you. Ciao.